Hey guys, it's your boy A Surfer here. I thought we'd do a reading down by the beach today, continuing on with our local ghost stories, and then today we're gonna do the Faceless Lady. Get straight into it, guys. But the search leads to a drive-in theater in Kaimuki, where in May 1959, strange sightings start in the ladies' room of the Waiale Drive-In. Those reports supposedly continued for some 2 decades until the drive-in was closed and properly developed for a housing project. So they tore the place down, guys. In this, one of the most famous of all local Obake traditions, the haunting unfolds casually. Around midnight, a young woman goes into the restroom to freshen her lipstick. Standing at the mirror, combing her long black hair, is another young woman. The view of the face, however, is obscured by her beautiful silken hair. At first, the girl approaches the one at the mirror. She catches a reflection of the face, only there is no face. Beneath the luxurious hair is a smooth, fresh orb without evidence of mouth, eye, nose, or ear. To add to the hysteria, the spirit in the mirror has no feet or lower limbs. The legs fade away into mist. Several sightings of the faceless ghosts of the Waiale Drive-In were followed by a newspaper article in which columnist Bob Krause offered some explanations for the haunting. The drive-in, some said, was haunted by the spirits of a nearby cemetery that bordered the property. The manager claimed that the story was purely fictitious, and although some patrons complained that their friends had seen the phantom, none could produce a first-hand witness. Workers insisted that even in the earliest hours of the morning, they had seen or heard nothing out of the ordinary, and yet the rumors persist. Business for a brief time boomed as amateur ghost hunters crowded about the restroom waiting for a glimpse of the faceless woman ghost. Krause intimated that children at Jarrett Intermediate School had but a week before reported seeing the same type of obake. The reasonable mind suggested a clever hoax, while the curious repeated tales told by a friend that the lady of Waiale Drive-In was a genuine phantom. In November of 1982, during a local broadcast of the radio talk show concerning Hawaii's ghosts, the old story of the haunted Waiale Drive-In surfaced. The station's switchboard immediately lit up. Several listeners claimed to have personally seen the Faceless Lady ghost. One caller insisted that in 1980 she had gone into the restroom at the drive-in and had seen another girl combing her long red hair in the mirror. She had evidently never heard about the resident ghost, and therefore unhesitatingly went up next to her to use the sink. When she discovered that this red-headed girl had no face, shrieking, she ran out of the restroom to get help. By the time she and her friends returned, the spirit had vanished. As long as the ladies' room at that drive-in remained standing, unwitting females periodically reported having seen the faceless phantom. What is unusual about this ghost story is the rarity of its type. The Waiale Drive-In seems to be the only place in Hawaii where a faceless spirit is seen. Even in Western American and Polynesian ghost lore, faceless ghosts are rare or non-existent. A review of major folklore motifs reviews no international tales concerning monsters or ghosts without faces. Assuming for the moment that the faceless ghost of the Waiale Drive-In was a manifestation of generative folk tale, where does it come from? A lonely portion of the Akasaka Road in Meiji, Japan, called Ki'i no Kunizaka, lonely travelers late at night would encounter a mournful woman lying helpless beside the road. The night would be still and the moon would provide the only illumination. When a traveler passed by this sad female figure, he would hear crying. Asking what was wrong, he would be given no answer except for more weeping. The kind traveler would insist that this was no place for a lovely young girl to be at midnight, and that there was no need for tears. As he would implore her to leave the place in his safekeeping, she would slowly turn her face upwards. The traveler, pulling back her hair, horrified, he would discover that the weeping woman had no face. Wildly fleeing down the Akasaka Road, he would seek the assistance of an old peddler of buckwheat noodles, Soba, who was also traveling the path. Upon hearing the traveler's unbelievable story, the Soba seller would gently laugh as he raised his lantern to his own face. There, the hapless victim would see that the face of the old man also resembled that of the smooth surface of a white egg. The Faceless Lady of Akasaka Road, as recorded by the romantic chronicler of old Japan, Lafcadio Hearn, in his classic Kawadan Stories and Studies of Strange Things, was called a Mujina. The Mujina was a faceless spirit that eventually haunted only the Ki'i no Zunazaka portion of the Akasaka Road. While Hearn was far from being a scientific folklorist, many of the stories that he included in Kaidan were collected from the villages of the Meiji Japan. The Mujina was primarily a product of folk imagination and Hearn's fanciful literary mind. That a Mujina should have appeared in Hawaii at the Wildlife Drive-In nearly 50 years after Hearn wrote his tale about an exciting indication that Japanese obake do have the power to become multicultural island phantoms. The Mujina in both Hawaii and Japan tales are strikingly similar. Both seem to entice their attractive victims in solitary settings. There is something about the girl combing her hair in the restroom that compels the living to approach her, just as the crying girl on the Akasaka Road captured the sympathy of a passerby. Then, with a clever, frightening gesture, the Mujina slowly turns their heads so the victim can only get a glimpse of their featureless face. The Mujina doesn't try to harm or attack its hapless subject. The sight alone of the hideous empty face is enough to incite panic and fear. In neither case does the ghost say anything, display mystical powers, or fly about the room. Its only purpose seems to be frighten people with his face. The similarities are so marked to suggest that the origins of the Wildlife Drive-In ghost might have very well been the Mujina. Whatever visitors to the lady's room might have seen, the real manifestation of the supernatural or the collective cultural nightmare compounded by a late hour of their isolation and fanciful imagination. Yeah, and that's the story, guys. The Wildlife Drive-In, you guys can Google it. It was in like the newspapers, and it might have been on the news and stuff. But yeah, check it out, guys. Thank you for hanging out. Not bad. We kept it to 9 minutes. And sorry about the wind. I thought we'd go outside and try filming in nature. Let me know what you guys think about the outdoor story time. Thank you so much for watching, and I really appreciate you taking the time. Have a good night, guys. A surfer out. Or I should say day, shouldn't I?